Shalom V'cha. It's going to be, Zat Hashem, big night. Big. We'll start in a minute. Baruch, Ramesh. Zat Hashem, Spanish team. Okay, right. Yeah, 20 seconds. All right. B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, shiur Torah, Bruchim Habayim. We're back here on our Wednesday night. Stump the Rabbi, where after some divrei Torah, you guys will ask some questions, and B'ezrat Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us the answers. Tonight's shiur is going to be for the Refuah Shlema and Hatzlacha Rabbah for Rabbi Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Sarah bat Levana, Avi Mori David ben Esriya, Imi Morati Doris bat Jora, and all of Am Yisrael and all the righteous Noahis that continue to learn with us, continue to support our organization by donating at be'ezrathashem.org or bhtorah.org or many of the other ways that people choose to support Baruch Hashem. So, Rabotai Yekarim, the time has come. You're going to get some big news. The big news that I've been telling you for the last several months, Be'ezrat Hashem, at least a big part of it will be coming out tonight. And the reason why I say a big part is because there's more Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. But we're going to start with a shiur unlike anything else that you've ever heard. Beautiful Jewish women. Are women allowed to look beautiful according to the Torah? Surely you've heard many shiurim with stories about divorce, intermarriage that's destroying families. But when was the last time that you heard a shiur about beautiful Jewish women that built those houses? Sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? It's not. In fact, this will be one of the most important shiurim that you will ever hear in your life, because it will finally unveil the clear explanation of what is beautiful and what is ugly, what is permitted and holy, and what is forbidden and unholy. This will be followed by the huge news you've all been waiting for a long time, really huge news, and then the questions and answers. So, Rabotai Kareem, we start off with our weekly parasha, Parashat Ki Titzeh. כי תצא למלחמה על אויביך, ונתנו אדוני אלוהיך בידיך, ושבית שביו. When you will go out to war against your enemies, and Hashem your God will deliver him into your hand, and you will capture his captivity. So everyone knows that this parasha has many mitzvot, in fact more mitzvot than any other parasha. But one of the things that is often spoken about is the Eshet Yefat Toar, the beautiful non-Jewish woman. What about the beautiful non-Jewish woman? Here the Torah tells us that when the soldiers are at war, it's not like today where you can go to war, then go have a good time, go back home. I mean, generally speaking, those that I actually know very well that actually were stationed in Iraq, or some that I know from, old enough to be soldiers in Vietnam, they certainly did not go home. But today's war is, needless to say, very different than it was in the past. In the past, people would go to war for years, leaving their wives and kids behind for 5-10 years. The Shvatim, the tribes that wanted to live outside of the land of Israel, Shevet Reuven, Gad and Menashe were obligated to come and join Am Yisrael to fight the wars against the Canaanites. And these wars, Rabotai Karim, took 14 years, meaning that a guy went to war at the age of 18, he didn't come home until he was 32. So a Kadosh Baruch Hu that knows his creation said that this man is 18 years old, he's strong, he's young, he's handsome, he wants to get married, but he can't because he's busy at war, and the only thing that he sees is either someone trying to kill him or whatever's left after he kills his enemy, the guy's wife and kids. In fact, the Torah says that if these soldiers, after they win the war and they see that among the captive, there's a beautiful Jewish woman. There's a beautiful non-Jewish woman. And his inclination, his desire, he wants to be with this woman, wants to marry her. So there's a process that the Torah says. The first, he has to let her uglify herself, meaning make herself ugly, shave her head, grow her nails. He puts her in some type of tent so she could cry over her lost family as a result of the war for a month. And then after that, he's allowed to convert her and marry her. But if he doesn't want to marry her, he has to let her go. He can't make her into a slave. He can't he can't sell her. And the Torah tells us that Hashem did this because he knew that when all of the soldiers, full of testosterone, lonely, they want to get married, they see a beautiful woman, they're not going to be able to control themselves about the fact that she's not Jewish. So Hashem said, we're going to allow this, but there's a process of doing it. There's always a process of doing everything you want in a kosher way. Now, we have spoken about this particular issue in the past, but we're going to go in a different direction. We see here that the Torah specifies it's not just a woman, it's a beautiful woman. So is it only allowed for the Goyot to be beautiful, or is a Jewish woman also allowed to be beautiful? There was a Baal Tshuva many years ago who was a celebrity in Israel, and he decided to leave his Hollywood life and start doing kiruv. But then eventually he went off the derech, even though he was left his Hollywood life, started teaching, looking like a rabbi, and getting people to do tshuva. But one day he broke it off and became secular again. I think at some point he returned to a certain extent, but never the same as what he was initially after he did tshuva. One of the people that spent an entire Shabbat with him told Rabbi Ephraim, I spent the entire Shabbat with this guy. When he was already a rabbi, looked like a rabbi, doing shiurim to get people to do tshuva for years already, and the entire Shabbat he's talking about beautiful women that he used to be married to momentarily. V'amevin yavin. Oh, it was with this one, I went there, I did this, I did that. So it's no surprise that he went off the derech. Because although his tshuva stopped the sin of what he was doing when he was living the sinful life, the secular life, he never got to step number 3 of the tshuva of regretting it. In fact, there's another man that was a businessman, successful, did tshuva, started giving shiurim, was very, very popular for a time. I remember when I first started doing tshuva and giving shiurim, I used to like his shiurim. But one day he went off completely. And it really broke my heart because he was so good. He had so much potential. But unfortunately, it was expected for that to happen because many times during his shiurim, he would talk about the wonderful life he had when he was secular. Meaning he was proud of all the sins, in so many words. He never got to regret. So the gava, the ego, never left. Today, there are many people, Baruch Hashem, that have watched our lectures over the years, that we're very, very proud of and very grateful to. But once in a while you hear terrible stories, either from people you know or people you don't know, things that happen in different parts of the world, Jewish communities that happen, and non-Jewish also, that really break your heart. Why? Because you see that somebody did tshuva, abandoned a sinful life, stopped driving on Shabbat, stopped stealing in their business, started looking like a religious Jew, but then decides one day he's leaving his wife. Or the wife decides to leave him because he can't stop complaining about her. He says, listen, when I first got married, my wife and I had a good time, everything was great, but since we started doing tshuva, since everything started becoming religious, she stopped taking care of herself. In the name of the religion, she wanted to be more modest, so no more makeup, no more taking care of herself, and my eyes went elsewhere. And sometimes even the guys get to the extent of saying, my wife turned ugly. Rabotai Karim, I know that some of you are going to hate me initially, and some of you are going to love me if you listen to the end and you do what it says in the Torah. But the reality is, Rabotai, these types of divorces are only the fault of the people. They're not the fault of the Torah, because if you don't know what the Torah says, you end up doing what you think. You end up doing what you think other people think, and you make mistakes. The Torah specifically tells us that there is a beautiful non-Jewish woman. In fact, the Torah talks about beautiful Jewish women too, not just non-Jewish women. In fact, if you look at the amount of books and sources that I have next to me, you'd be surprised that this is not only 1% of all that's out there. But we first start with the Midrash Agadah in Sefer Dvarim, Parashat Shoftim, that tells us why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu allow this beautiful non-Jewish woman to marry a Jew, to convert and then marry a Jew. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu to Am Yisrael, I allowed you to do this in a process where first she would uglify herself, where if he only wants one thing momentarily based on beauty, then he'll lose the desire. But I knew that if I didn't do this, people will sin anyway. And how will she uglify herself? By growing her nails, by shaving her head. And the Chachamim say, from here we learn that the subject of beauty is of importance to the Creator. In fact, the Gemara in Masechet Chulin, page 109b, says a conversation between Yalta and Rav Nachman, her husband. And she says to him, whatever the merciful one forbid us, you say that he permitted us with something that's allowed, meaning that there is a permissible way of doing everything you want, but you need to know how to do it. He forbid us blood, but he permitted us liver. He forbid us relations with a nidah, but he permitted us relations with a woman that was a virgin. He forbid us chelev of a domestic animal, but he permitted us chelev of an undomesticated animal. He forbid us pork, but he allowed us the brains of a shibuta, which is a fish that tastes just like pork. He forbid us, he forbid certain parts of the animal, but he allowed it us in the fish. He forbid us relations with a married woman, adultery is forbidden, but he permitted us to marry a divorced woman, even if our ex-husband is still alive. He forbid us to marry your brother's wife, but he permitted you to marry a yevama, where if the brother died without kids, you can marry his wife. It's a mitzvah. That's what the sons of Yehuda did with Tamar. So we see here that there's certain things that are forbidden. He also forbid us the non-Jewish woman, but he allowed us to convert. He forbid us the non-Jewish woman, but he allowed it the Eshet Yefat Torah, the non-Jew that would convert as part of the war. And the Gemara goes into other details in so many words, telling us that there is no pleasure in this world that you can't have in a kosher way. But you have to know what's the kosher way, what's the permissible way. The Gemara in Masechet Ta'anit has an extraordinary story about one of the sages named Abba Chilkiah. Abba Chilkiah was the grandson of Choni HaMe'agel, Choni the circle maker, the one that made a circle when it was a drought. He made a circle in the field, he stood in a circle and spoke to Hashem and said, I'm not leaving the circle until you make it rain. And Hashem made it rain. So Abba Chilkiah was his grandson. And one day, the rain stopped, and Am Yisrael was praying for mercy, and it wasn't working. So they went to Abba Chilkiah, the tzaddik, because the world needed rain. So they wanted him to pray to Hashem, just like his grandfather did. They went to him, and after a whole process of ignoring them because he was working, they went along and they followed him until they saw him, they got to the house. As they got close to the house, they saw his wife, Abba Chilkiah's wife, come out dressed up like she's going to a wedding, full of jewels, makeup, beautiful. Modest, but beautiful. And she came out of the house to welcome her husband as she does every day. After a while, he prayed for them and they wanted to ask him a question. They wanted to take advantage of the opportunity they have to ask the Rav why he does what he does. And they said, Kvod Rav, can you answer us some questions that are bothering us? He said, sure. Why is it that when you reached that town, your wife came out to greet you, adorned with jewelry and looking, very beautiful? Usually, everyone understands, Kol Gvoda Bat Melech Pnima, all of the honor of a woman is inside. Why is she coming out? She knows you're going to come in. On your own. Abba Chilkiah says to them, so that I should have no desire to glance at any other woman. She came out looking beautiful as part of the ways of our Shlom Bayit, so I don't look at any other woman. Because I know that when I come home, I got my beauty waiting for me. Now, someone that did not study Gemara and just became religious, or is not religious, this sounds strange. The great tzaddikim talk like this? Yes, they did. They did. And they said even more. The Gemara then in the same Masechet Tanit, page 31a, has the teachings of the rabbis. How would they celebrate Tu B'Av? This is a time where the Gemara says whoever lacked a wife would turn there to find one. It was an event, a shidduch event. All the single guys, all the single girls would go to this place, look for a wife, and find someone. And each one of the women would represent themselves. And the sages are teaching different lessons through what each woman said to represent herself. And the beautiful women, the beautiful Jewish girls that were looking to get married, they would say, pay attention to our beauty. Why? Because the sages teach us, for a wife is primarily for beauty. Why do you have a wife? Because she's beautiful. In my eyes, she's the most beautiful thing in the world. Wait, what about her personality? What about the fact that our father has money? What about that she's really smart? No. She's beautiful in my eyes. That's why I married her. What? What is it, chauvinism? No, it's reality. This is reality. Now, how do we know this is reality? How do we know this is reality? I mean, Liz, the girl is saying this because the Gemara in Masechet Kiddushin, page 41a, says as follows. Rav Yehuda said in the name of Rav that it's forbidden for a man to betroth a woman until he sees her. Meaning, even though he's allowed to send somebody to go find him somebody to marry, a shatchan, a shatchanit, Eliezer Eved Avraham that went to find the wife of Yitzchak, But still, before he marries her, he has to see her. Why? Why does he have to see her? Lest he sees something unseemingly about her after they get married, and she'll become repulsive in his eyes. And as a result of her looking ugly in his eyes, he will transgress the Torah law, ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha, that you shall love your fellow like yourself. So you're allowed to send a messenger, an agent, a shadchan, somebody to find you somebody, if that's available. But before you get married, you have to look at her first. Why? She has to be attracted to you. In fact, the Gemara says that the sages would make sure to beautify their children in order for them to have an easier time to get married. The Gemara in Masechet Nedarim it's a Mishnah with Rabbi Ishmael. Rabbi Ishmael was known as someone that had a very, very sensitive heart to the daughters of Israel. And one time, there was an incident where one guy needed to get married, but the offer that he got from his sister was her daughter. He looked at his niece. He said, she's ugly. Not only I'm not going to marry her, I'm making a vow that I'm not going to marry this woman. A neder. That's why this is Masechet Nedarim. I'm making a vow that I'm not going to marry this woman because she's so ugly. So they brought this girl to Rabbi Ishmael. Broken-hearted, miskena, feels terrible about herself. You know, in those days, it was very common for not only for you to marry your niece and so on, but this was usually the primary way to get married because it's the most appropriate, because there's already a connection, there's already family. You don't have to adapt new customs of a different faraway family. So Rabbi Ishmael sees this girl, say, our uncle doesn't want to marry her, and he vowed not to marry her because he says she's ugly. Rabbi Ishmael calls his daughters, and he tells his daughters, go and take care of this girl, beautify her. So the girls, they make sure to beautify her, she takes a shower, she gets dressed with new clothes, they put some makeup on her, they do her hair, all types of bells and whistles, whatever people do, the girls do to their hair and all that stuff. She looks like a different person. And Rabbi Ishmael says, bring our uncle here. The uncle comes, yes, for the Rav, yes. He says, you see this girl? The guy's eyes almost came out of his head. It's the most beautiful girl he ever saw in his life. Yes, Rabbi. He says, is this the one that you made a neder not to marry her because she's ugly? He says, me make a neder not to marry this? This is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. How would I possibly make a neder not to marry someone that's so beautiful? I made a neder to not marry some ugly girl. He says, this one and that one, it's the same girl. It's just that because she's so poor, she couldn't afford to take care of herself. But we already have a tradition that the daughters of Israel are beautiful. It's just that poverty and hunger can sometimes make them look ugly. And Rabbi Rabbi Ishmael started crying about the suffering daughters of Am Yisrael that did not have the means to beautify themselves because of how necessary it is. And when he died, the entire community of women cried over him. Said, this is like we lost our David HaMelech. He was the father of the generation. So here we see, again, the sages talk about beautiful Jewish women and how necessary it is. But maybe they're just talking about once they're single, once they get married. That's it, she got married. She had a couple of kids, 2, 3, 4, 10, 15, whatever amount of kids Baruch Hashem blesses them with. That's it, chalas. What, I still have to do my makeup, I still have to do this, I still have to do that. Come on, he knows me already. We're together for 20 years. He knows where I am, he knows where I sleep, he knows where I eat breakfast, he knows my favorite, he knows how to get on my nerves, he knows what, I still have to do this. In fact, Rabotai Karim, one of the places that the Gemara, the main place that the Gemara talks about wigs, is in Masechet Shabbat. In Masechet Shabbat, page 64b. The whole issue of wigs starts from here. The real story is not about wearing the wigs of today, where each woman's wig is like longer than our exile and our problems. No. Rather, each house had like a little courtyard, a fenced courtyard. You have the house, and then the outside is like a fence closing it in, so the other neighbors can't see, even when you, your wife, your kids are in the courtyard. So the Chachamim said, when the woman goes in the courtyard on Shabbat, she's allowed, if she doesn't want to cover her hair with a mitpachat, in her own courtyard, she's allowed to wear a wig. Because our neighbors can't see her. And therefore she's allowed to wear a wig, but just in our courtyard. That's really the permission is about courtyard. It's not about everywhere else. The Shita Mikubetzet, many Chachamim say he was wrong about saying that if she's allowed in the courtyard, she's allowed elsewhere, but we're not going to get into that issue. The point is, that's where the argument starts. This Gemara. Now the question is, if she's in the courtyard, why can't she just not cover her hair at all? Why does the Gemara say she doesn't want to wear a mitpachat, a hat? She should wear a wig. Why? Why can't you just go without anything? It's not that she's not allowed, because there's nobody that's going to see her. It's covered. There's fence, everything, walls. Rather, she's allowed to wear a wig because if she doesn't, and she didn't do her hair, and she's poor, and she doesn't have the means to do it, then guess what? When her husband sees what her hair looks like, he'll find her ugly. And he'll want to start looking at other women. So this, Ula says, the rabbis permitted these ornaments in order to ensure that the woman will not become repulsive to her husband if she does not adorn herself with jewels, with makeup, and even with a wig in our courtyard. Reason? Don't become ugly in your husband's eyes. Now the Rambam paskins this to halacha, meaning this is not just a limud where, okay, the sages said something, but we don't really have to do this. No. The Rambam paskins this to halacha in several places. in Ilchot Isurei Biyah, chapter 12, halacha number 19, says as follows: a nidah may perform any task which a wife would perform, meaning when the wife is nidah, she's allowed to do whatever a wife is allowed to perform, except washing her husband's face and hands and feet. She's not allowed to touch him. Pouring him his drink, spreading his bed in front of him. That's why they're not allowed to eat from the same plate, the Rambam says, nor should they touch each other's flesh. But it is permitted, says the Rambam, for the woman to adorn herself even during her days of nidah. Wait, but he's not allowed to be with her. He's not allowed to sleep in the same bed. He's not allowed to touch her hand. Not allowed to hug her. Why would she take care of it to beautify herself in the days that her and her husband not allowed to even give each other a high five? Nothing. Shouldn't she uglify herself? Or at the very least not take care of herself? So there's no attraction, there's no accidental on purpose forgetting. No, says the Rambam. Even during our days of nidah, she should adorn herself, lest she become unattractive to her husband. While some think, oh, when she's nidah, she could look like Gargamel chasing after the Smurfs. But when she's not nidah, she goes to mikveh, she beautifies herself, all the makeup, all the this, all the that. That clearly shows that, here we go, I'm back. No, says the Rambam. That's not what Hashem said. That's not what Hashem said. Hashem specifically taught us about the Eshet Yefat Torah, that beautiful non-Jewish woman, by telling us, how do you make her ugly? How do you make her ugly? By her not taking care of herself, her shaving her head, her growing her nails, her letting go of things, she becomes ugly. Don't let your wife do that. Don't let yourself do that to your husband. Why? Lest you become unattractive to your husband. And of course, it's not only the Rambam that says this. A few hundred years later, the Shulchan Aruch paskins this to halacha. Shulchan Aruch Yoreh De'ah, Siman Kuf Tzadik Hei. בקושי התירו לה להתקשט במנינתה, אלא כדי שלא תתגנה על בעלה. Says because there's the Yetzirah that can make the husband and the wife hold hands when they're not allowed to hold hands, when she's nidah. So the logic was, when she's nidah, she should look like the Eshet Yefat Torah, during that month. Shulchan Aruch says no. Despite the difficulty, the Torah commends her to beautify herself. Why? If she doesn't beautify herself, even during the time she's not permitted to her husband, she'll become ugly in his eyes. And therefore, she has to beautify herself. Now you're going to say, okay, Rabbi, thank you, but my husband likes me the way I am. Even if I just woke up, still got little crusts in my eyes. I take care of myself when I go to weddings. I take care of myself when there's an event. I take care of myself when I go out to the supermarket to see Jose and Tony that are putting together tomatoes and the potatoes. When my husband comes home from work, it's already 9 o'clock. I'm tired. I'm already in my pajamas. Why, you're telling me that I have to put makeup on and take care of myself so I look beautiful for my husband coming home at 9 o'clock? I'm going to sleep. When we go to an event, when we go to dinner, when I go hang out with my girlfriends to have coffee, I take care of myself, Rabbi. Sure. But when I'm home, I'm relaxing. husband knows me already. We're together for 20 years. My dear Jewish daughters, listen to what the Chachamim are saying here and pay attention. The Maharam Rothenburg, this is one of the Baalei Tosfot, this is nearly 1,000 years ago, says as follows. תבוא מהרה לאישה שיש לה בעל ואינה מתקשטת, ותבוא מהרה לאישה שאין לה בעל ומתקשטת. המהרה, which is the worst possible curse there is in the Torah. Whatever you can imagine, worse. Says the Maharam Rothenburg, the worst possible curse called the Me'era will come upon a woman that has a husband but does not take care of herself to beautify herself. And also a Me'era will come upon a woman that does not have a husband but she takes care of herself. So the Shut Mishneh Halachot in Chelek Yud, Siman Kuf Lamed Hey, clarifies what the Maharam Rothenburg said here. He says, when the Maharam Rothenburg wrote that the curse will come upon a woman that has a husband but doesn't adorn herself, and the one that doesn't have a husband adorns herself and she gets a curse too, what he meant is that if this woman has a husband, but the only time she adorns herself is when she goes out to an event, to a wedding, to a bat mitzvah, to have coffee with the girlfriends. But at home with a husband, it might as well be Tisha B'Av. She looks like she just came out of the bed or she's going to bed at all times. That woman, get cursed. Yeah, but what about the single girl? Wait, tell me all the single girls can't take care of themselves? No. If the woman is single and she's not looking to get married, but she wants to be attractive to everybody, she wants everyone to look at her, she wants to make sins, she's not looking to get attention for marriage, and she adorns herself in order to be attracting of attention, then yes, a curse will come upon her. But if she's looking to get married, then of course she has to take care of herself and adorn herself. Because of course, if everybody looks at her and she looks like she just came out of the cemetery, then no one's going to marry her. She has to take care of herself and she'll get a blessing for it. It's a mitzvah. Just like it's a mitzvah for a wife to adorn herself for a husband and always look beautiful in his eyes, it's a mitzvah for a single woman to look beautiful if she's looking to get married. The curse only comes if you're doing the opposite. And while many people say, wow, what are you talking about? What curse? The curse is a broken heart, staying single for a really long time. You thought you were going to get married at the age of 20, 22, 25. You're now approaching 50 and no one wants to even look at you. And anyone that wants to look at you sees how beautiful you are, but your personality is ugly, so they don't want it. That's the curse. The curse is misery. Why? You did the opposite of what Torah says. Rabotai Karim, it doesn't end there. Ezra HaSofer, where they say that if Hashem did not give Moshe Rabbeinu the Torah, he would have given it to Ezra HaSofer to give it to Am Yisrael. Ezra HaSofer made 10 takanot to give to Am Yisrael in order to give them chizuk. He made 10 takanot, and the Gemara in Masechet Bava Kama, page 82b, says that Ezra HaSofer permitted the peddlers to travel from town to town without anyone getting in their way. There were different merchants in those days. It wasn't like today, buying on the internet or going to a mall. People got, all types of beauty products, whether it be perfumes or be clothing. Ezra Sofer said, these peddlers that are selling women's clothing, these peddlers that are selling perfumes, don't get in their way because you think that it's not modest. Opposite. Let them into the town without getting in their way. Let them travel from town to sell women's cosmetics and jewelry. Because this decree will ensure that these items will be accessible to women, who then will end up looking beautiful in their husband's eyes because they're wearing nice jewelry, because they have makeup on, because they're wearing nice clothes. And if they're attractive in their husband's eyes, there's not going to be divorce. There's not going to be adultery. The Rambam paskins this halacha in Ilchot Shchenim. Ilchot Shchenim, chapter 6, halacha number 9. That these peddlers that go from town to town should not be stopped. Just like the Takana of Ezra Sofer said, as long as they go from town to town and they're not stationary in one place, unless they're a Talmid Chacham. If it's Talmid Chacham, he's allowed to be stationary in one place. Why? Because we're not worried about Talmid Chacham becoming a womanizer. But if it's a out-of-towner or someone going from town to town, it's not Talmid Chacham, he can go from place to place but not stay stationary, so there's not enough time to develop a relationship with the women, customers. But nonetheless, the ones that are coming in or the ones that want to get into that business, no problem. Why? To make these products available, these beautifying products available to the daughters of Am Yisrael is a mitzvah. Why? Or create Shlom Bayit. And it's the same thing with the Shulchan Aruch in Choshen Mishpat. In Siman Kuf Nun Vav, Seif Vav, says the same exact thing as the Rambam, as Ezra Sofer. Now, just because there's makeup allowed doesn't mean that you have to turn yourself into a provocative clown. The Sefer called Anagot Ein Tov, Anshe Kodesh, in page 97, says, when a woman puts makeup on in an exaggerated way, in a way where she becomes like a traffic light, no one can avoid looking at her. This is the opposite of the ways of modesty. In her own house with her husband, no problem. In the streets, she has to be more reserved. But that doesn't mean she shouldn't put makeup on when she goes out. But it has to be more reserved. Why is it even important for her to put makeup on and jewels on even when she goes outside? Because this is what a Kadosh Baruch Hu instilled into a woman. The woman, the natural inclination is for her to desire jewelry. And some say takshitim is also cosmetics. Why? Her desire is to look beautiful. She just has to know she has to look beautiful for her husband or for the purpose of getting married. Not for the purpose of attracting Jose and Steve's eyes. The Gemara in Masechet Moed Katan, page 9b. Says as follows. During Yom Tov, we have certain laws that are similar to Shabbat. Chol HaMoed Pesach, Chol HaMoed Sukkot, it's not quite Yom Tov, but it's also not a regular weekday. There are certain things that are forbidden. But the Gemara says, there are certain things that are forbidden for a man, but not a woman. They're forbidden for a man, but not a woman. On Chol HaMoed. Like what? Says the Gemara, a woman may make her adornments during Chol HaMoed. What are these adornments of women? The Gemara asks. She's allowed to paint her eyes, meaning put makeup on. If a husband is a painter and he wants to paint during Chol HaMoed, he's forbidden. But the wife wants to, she's doing painting on her face. Allowed. She parts her hair. She applies rouge upon her face. Rashi says that this parting her hair is braiding her hair. And this rouge is applying a certain thing to her face to look like she red, to look like she's 10. Yes, women did this even thousands of years ago. And there are those that say she's even allowed to pass a razor on her lower face to remove body hair from different places. So the wife of Rav Chisda was adorning herself in front of her daughter-in-law on Chol HaMoed, and she was an older woman already. And Rav Huna Bar Chinana was sitting with Rav Chisda, her husband, and he says to him, didn't the Chachamim rule that a woman may adorn herself during Chol HaMoed only when she's a young woman? You know, a young woman, she wants to get married, or a young woman, she's newly married. But not for elderly women. Elderly woman, she's still old, regardless of what she puts. Says Rav Chisda, I swear to you in the name of Hashem, he says, even your mother, and even your mother's mother, and even a woman that's standing on her grave, meaning a woman of every advanced age, she could be 190 years old, is permitted to apply makeup during Chol HaMoed. Why? Because a 60-year-old woman is like a 6-year-old, and they run to the sound of the bells. Meaning, the fact, like wedding bells. Just like a 6-year-old runs to the music of a wedding, so does a 60-year-old. Wants to feel like she's a 6-year-old. She wants to be attractive in her husband's eyes. Rav Yehuda said, Jewish daughters who have reached their stage, where they've reached puberty, they would adorn themselves and also remove body hair and so on. And if they were poor, they would plaster their unwanted hair with lime to remove the hair. If they were wealthy, they would plaster it with fine flour. And the daughters of royalty would smear themselves with oil of myrrh. The Torah says in Megillat Esther that the women that wanted to prepare themselves for Achashverosh put myrrh on themselves. Rav Huna bar Chiya says, setakas. What is a setakat? Setakas. Rav Yirmiyah bar Ami says this setakas is oil of olives that has not attained a third of its ripeness, and women use it in order to remove body hair and to make their skin shiny, to make their skin glow. Rav Bivi would have his daughter put it on every part of her body, but the reason why it says every limb by limb, is because it was painful apparently and dangerous. But because she did this, she married a very wealthy person. Some Canaanite heard about how Rav Bivi, his daughter, beautified herself with this. So he had his daughter put the whole thing on her body, one shot. Yula, just do it right now. You'll become beautiful by tomorrow. And we'll marry you to some king. The Kuthian's daughter did it. And she died. The point here is that we see the Gemara is specifically talking about the need for a woman to adorn herself and not to think that she's done enough already in the past and she doesn't need to do it until there's a wedding or some type of event. And this is also what the Rambam paskins la'alacha in Chot Yom Tov in chapter 7, halacha number 20. He says, a woman may remove hair from her underarms, other parts of her body, even with a utensil, and she may undergo all cosmetic treatments during Chol HaMoed. She may paint her eyes, part her hair, apply rug to her face, apply lime to her skin. Why? Because she needs to remain attractive in her husband's eyes. Furthermore, says the Rambam, you know, everyone knows that the Chachamim say that to be happy during holidays, to be happy during Shabbat, you have to eat meat and drink wine. Everyone knows this. But there's something else that they may not know. The Rambam says in Chot Yom Tov, chapter 6, halacha number 17 and 18, that it's forbidden to fast or recite eulogies during Chol HaMoed of Pesach, Sukkot, all the holidays. You have to rejoice, like the Torah commands us. What is this rejoicing? rejoicing that's mentioned in the verse in Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 14, where it says, and you shall rejoice in your festivals, is referring to sacrificing peace offerings. This is the korbanot at the time of the Bet HaMikdash. But also, rejoicing is that he and his children and the members of his household must rejoice, each one in a matter that's appropriate for them. And what's implied? The children should be given roasted seed, nuts, sweets, anything that's sweet to make the kids happy. So I don't know how much nuts and roasts are going to make kids happy in our generation, but parents have to give them something, some type of present, some type of sweets to make them happy. So for those parents that are a little bit of health fanatics that don't want to give their kids any candy, they want to give them figs instead, take it easy. They're kids. It's okay for them to have candy once in a while. But what does it have to do with women? Says the Rambam, for women, how do they rejoice? One should buy them attractive clothing and jewelry according to his financial capacity. And the man should eat meat and drink wine. Because there's no happiness without partaking of meat and wine. So the last part, everyone knows. But the fact that you should buy, and you have to buy your wife a present, and your daughter's presents. What? A nice clothes, nice piece of jewelry. For what? For Yom Tov. And of course, you have to help the poor. That's another halakha, but we'll talk about that another time. But why? Why does he have to buy her new clothes? Doesn't she have enough clothes? Rabbi, she has a whole closet full of shoes. Okay, if she makes her happy, get her another pair of shoes. Rabbi, she has already 59,000 dresses. Okay, if it makes her happy, the next Yom Tov, buy her another dress. Rabbi, she has enough jewelry to open a jewelry company. Okay, but if it makes her happy, buy her another piece of jewelry. Why? That's what the halakha is. Why? Because that's what makes her look beautiful. And if you're a stingy husband, you're going to be a wicked husband too. Goes together. Goes together. Now again, the Rambam says, according to his financial means, meaning you don't need to go borrow $50,000 to buy her jewelry if you only make $50,000 a year. You buy her based on your means. But the point is, these are mitzvot. These are mitzvot. It's not just the wine and the meat. The Gemara in Masechet Ketubot says, we don't award a stipend of wines to women, as we learn from the verse, and I will go after my beloved, those who provide my bread and my water, my wool and my linen, my oil and my drinks. Makes it seem like the woman should be provided, not just her clothing and shelter, but also she provided wine. It says no, if she doesn't live with a husband, she's not provided this. She's provided other things, even if he lives in a different country for part of the year, whatever, and he's only with his wife for part of the year. But wine, he shouldn't give her. Why? Because wine will make her yearn for a husband. And if her husband's not there, Hashem Yachem. So the Gemara then, from this elaborated analysis, says, what else does a woman yearn for? What else does a woman like? What does she want? Tachshitim, jewelry. Some women are exceptional, where they don't like jewelry, which is fine. If your husband's okay with it, he likes you the way you are, you don't have to wear jewelry. Same thing goes with if a woman, her husband doesn't like her when she wears makeup. He thinks that her natural look is the ideal look. No problem. If that, you're doing it for him, no problem. But again, natural look doesn't look like Tisha B'Av, like you just came out of a cemetery. Natural look still needs to be groomed, still needs to be taken care of. But the point is, the makeup part is not it's an obligation to paint your face, to put colors, to put jewelry. It's the whole goal is to make sure that you have to look beautiful in your husband's eyes at all times. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu created you in such a way that you desire as a woman things that beautify you. A woman desires jewelry. Guys desire cars, desire houses, they desire honor. Women desire clothes. Every woman likes shoes, she likes dresses, she likes bags. Even if she has 49,000 bags, 59,000 dresses, 87,000 shoes, it's never enough. She desires more. Why? Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu instilled this in the nature of a woman to desire the things that are to better her for her husband. Because if she looks beautiful in her husband's eyes, she'll stay married. Happily married. The Gemara in Masechet Pesachim. The sages teach that a person is obligated to gladden his children and members of his household on the holidays. As it says, "V'samachta b'chagecha," you shall rejoice in your festival. With what shall he gladden them? Rabbi Yehuda says, whatever is suitable for each. And like we said before, when it comes to women, it's tachshitim, it's a clothes, jewelry, but the Gemara specifies something very interesting. Rav Yosef says, in Babylonia, the way that the husbands would make their wives happy is by getting them colored garments, meaning dresses with colors. She had a blue dress, she had a pink dress, she had a purple dress, she had a yellow dress, whatever it is, different colors. But in Eretz Yisrael, the women like linen garments. So get her what she likes. But from here we also learn that you don't need to only wear black, like you just came out of a funeral all the time. It's okay to wear colors if that's what your husband likes. If your husband likes you in black all the time, wear black all the time. But don't think that you're wearing black in the name of a Torah. It's not. You're allowed to wear colors as a woman. Why? If your husband likes colors, wear colors. But the key is to understand that all of these permissions have conditions. That all of them have to be, like we said before, for the purpose of being beautiful in your husband's eyes, or if you're trying to get married. And of course, in accordance with halakha, that it's not for the sake of attracting everyone's attention, but rather in order to be beautiful. And the difference between beautiful and attracting attention is a world apart. Beautiful is like a queen that is classy, is pretty, and whatever she's wearing, whether it's the jewels or the dress, is simply accentuating the beauty that already exists there. Attracting is someone that is trying to do certain things through her makeup, through her clothing, through her jewelry, in order to attract attention, not just to her, but to specific body parts. And that's forbidden. That's forbidden, which we'll talk about in a moment. So here we see that if in your place the women Your wife likes colors because that's what the women like, then wear colors, no problem. If in your place they wear linen, wear linen. The point is, give your wife the dress, the jewelry, the different things that are going to make her happy. And the Talmud Yerushalmi, in Masechet Shabbat, in Perek Vav, Halacha Aleph, chapter 6, Halacha number 1, says there are certain types of jewelry that a woman should not go out on Shabbat with them if there's no iruv. Why? Because these jewels are so fancy that if she gives it to her friend to see, and then it falls or she forgets it, she'll end up carrying. The point of the Gemara is to teach that we see that this tachshitin, these jewelry, these beautifying things, is what a Kadosh Baruch Hu instilled into women to deal with, to like. Now, there's a sefer called Avnei Yishpeh. This was written by Rabbi Israel Finhandler. He was a posek. He was originally born in Chicago, but then he made Aliyah to Israel. He studied under Rav Edelstein. He also did shimush with Rav Shmuel Vosner, Rav Elyashiv, and Rav Zalman Auerbach. If that wasn't enough, this Rabbi Israel Finhandler was a posek in the house of the Baba Sali. So much so that on one of his sfarim, the Baba Sali wrote an askama for Rabbi Israel Finhandler, and he says, the Baba Sali writes this, in our house we ask him all types of questions in regards to halacha, and whatever he says, we do. So you see how one of the Gedolei Ador, the Baba Sali, Kodesh Kodeshim, how much respect, kavod he had for this Rav. And he wrote many books, Baruch Hashem. Some are actually even in English in regards to Shlom Bayit, in regards to raising kids, dealing with neighbors. Wrote many Sfarim in Hebrew, Shutim, all types of responses. And one of the Sfarim, the Avnei Yishpeh, this is his main sefer, in Even HaEzer, in Siman Kuf Tet Vav, in Anaf Bet. He writes this: I was asked by a woman if it's allowed to wear makeup when she's covering her entire face, because this actually beautifies her and causes people to look at her. So is this allowed? Because she's now more pretty, people look at her. She says, I didn't find any part of the Torah that says this is prohibited. In fact, it's clear in our Torah that the halacha is, in Shulchan Aruch, in Orach Chaim, that we actually buy the woman, the wives, daughters also, special clothing for Yom Tov, because these clothing make her more beautiful and adorn her. And it clearly says that a woman is allowed to put jewelry on even during the time of her nidah, and which means even during the time that she's in the streets, she's outside, not just in the house. And if there was a prohibition of her being beautified to the point where she looks much better than naturally, but that would only be allowed inside the house. The Torah would clarify that it's only allowed inside the house, but it doesn't. It says it's allowed inside and outside. So even though she looks a lot prettier with all of this, it's allowed so long as there's no pritzut. Meaning, so long as this clothing that she's wearing is not immodest. This makeup that she's wearing is not immodest. What is immodest? Like I explained, it's not just beautifying the woman, it's attracting attention intentionally. You're wearing specific garments with slits, with tightness, with certain things that are bringing attention to specific body parts. And this is the Sefer Bina Gigi. What is pritzut? What is immodest? He says it's well known that there are certain behaviors that cause men to become aroused, and their yetzirah is aroused by pritzut, by immodesty. What's an example? The examples are said in our Torah, where the prophet tells us that the women would intentionally, the tall woman would walk around with two short women so she could bring attention to herself, or she would wear high heels to bring attention to herself, or she would have these heels where there was a certain perfume that was under her feet, that as soon as she would pass by walk by the men, she would smash on her leg and make the perfume go in the air, which would bring attention to her. So these types of things that intentionally bring attention to the woman, these are called pritzut. This is called immodesty. And if your wife is acting that way, you're allowed to divorce her. Of course, you need to try to make her do tshuva first, try to speak to the rabbi, get shlom bayit counseling, find out why she's dressing this way, despite the fact that you don't want it. You want it to be modest but beautiful. So he says, when it comes to clothing, no problem with it being beautiful, but again, has to be modest. When it comes to makeup, no problem for it to be beautiful, but it's problem if it's very loud and the type that makes you look like something else. Even perfume. There's no problem wearing perfume. It's even necessary, but not to the point where, like the Torah says, is forbidden. And even the behavior. A lot of women think that just because she's married and happily married, she's allowed to talk to any guy however she wants. And sometimes people forget that they're married during these conversations. If I only told you the stories that I get, Shem Echem, of what happens to people that make themselves too friendly with coworkers, make themselves too friendly with neighbors. One guy found out that his wife was cheating on him with who? With his best friend that he was helping out by letting him live in their house for over a year. Rent free, everything free, try to help him in his life. The whole time he's cheating on, his wife is cheating on him with him. Shem Yachim. So now, the Sefer HaGigin, page 331, he says when it comes to clothing, a woman has to know that if it's too tight, obviously it's not modest. If it's because it's going to accentuate certain body parts. If there is certain slits, an opening under the collarbone, or even if a woman has a button-down shirt and she opens the top buttons. These are not modest. She has a slit, even if she wears a long dress, long skirt, but it has a slit on the side, a long slit on the side, it's a problem. Why? Says the Sefer Agigi, is that the natural inclination of a man's mind is to complete the incomplete. Whereby a woman doesn't realize this, because she doesn't think that way. Her mind doesn't work the way of the mind of a man. But even if she covers herself, and she's wearing a dress that covers her knees, in fact, it even goes all the way to the middle of the calf, and she's walking up the stairs, and there's another man that's also walking up the stairs. So technically, the bottom of where the let's say the ankle is, it's permissible for that to be out. But guess what? That man that sees that part will still imagine what the rest of the body looks like. So if his Yetzirah makes him think about what else this woman has in an inappropriate way, by looking at something that's permissible, needless to say, he's going to think about something that's forbidden if you show him parts of the body that are not permissible, like the open shirt, and like the collarbone, and like the slit on the side of the leg, and so on and so forth. So a woman has to take this into account, that the Torah is not forbidding her from being beautiful. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. The Torah obligates the woman that she needs to be beautiful for her husband, and whether she wants to get married. But in general, that does not have a on and off. Why? Because your husband is not just coming to your house. Your husband also is going to maybe see you outside. So there's no special times where, oh, I'm only going to be beautiful if we go to an event. No. You need to take care of yourself at all times. But there's a difference between beautiful and someone that's looking to be attracting attention from everyone. Last but not least, Rabbi Yaakov Israel Lugassi writes in Sefer Bnot Israel, when a woman goes to the street, goes out, she should, before she goes out, she should adorn herself and look respectable. But not to the point where she puts so much jewelry and so much makeup that it's exaggerated, to the point where it's attracting everyone's attention, but negative attention, where you're getting the whistles, like you're surrounded by dogs. Because this would mean that you're causing men to sin. You're causing Am Yisrael to go against the Torah. And this is also mentioned in Shevet Levi. But this should not be misunderstood, says Rav Lugassi, to think that she should not adorn herself. Because we already know from the Maharami Rothenburg, in his tshuva, in Siman Kuf Tzadik Tet, that the worst of all curses, called the Me'era, will come upon a woman that has a husband but doesn't adorn herself, or doesn't have a husband but adorns herself. And we explained it before what that means. She, in essence, doesn't adorn herself and adorn herself for the wrong reasons. And a Tosefta in Masechet Kiddushin says that a woman, it's not a problem if people look at you. If you're beautiful, Hashem gave you beauty, someone sees you, that's not a problem. The problem is if you're bringing that attention to yourself by doing specific things. If you're modest, if you're wearing a kisui rosh because you're married, and you have all types of, decorations on it, it's not just a single color, it has multiple colors, you have, all types of bands around it, bells, whatever you have on it, that's like a crown for a queen. It's not a problem. You have a beautiful dress on, and your favorite color, and it covers your entire body, and it's modest, no problem. The fact that some guy looked at you, that's not your husband, that's not a problem. That's not your problem. In fact, every single second that you walk around in the street with modest clothes, covered appropriately according to the Torah, even if you look more beautiful than every woman until Sarah Imenu, but you're modest, every single second you walk, every single second you're out, every single second you're in the house with your husband and kids, every single second that you exist with these modest clothes is considered a mitzvah. It's considered Kiddush Hashem. Why? Because you're sanctifying a Kadosh Baruch Hu's name by showing that yes, you can fulfill the Torah and be beautiful, which is unlike what people think. People think that in order to be beautiful, you have to violate the Torah. In order to enjoy, you have to violate the Torah. Opposite. The greatest joy and the greatest beauty that exists in this world is only through the Torah, because that's the only real beauty and real joy that lasts, that's actually real. Everything else is momentary, temporary, and fake. So if you follow what Torah says, and you walk around like the daughter of the king of kings, the fact that you're beautiful, that's the gift that Hashem gave you. Makeup, perfectly fine. Covering your hair with all types of decorations on top of the kisui rosh, perfectly fine. Dress that covers you, that's different colors, perfectly fine. You want to wear a single color, no problem. But it has to be modest. You do that, you're making mitzvot. You do that, you're going to have shalom bayit. You do that, you're going to have kids that are tzaddikim. You do that, your husband will love you more than you can possibly imagine, because he's never going to have to look at another woman again. Why? Because he has the greatest, most beautiful woman in the world. But if you start worrying about what you look like only in the eyes of the public and not your husband, not only is it not a Kiddush Hashem, Hashem Erachem, it's a Chilul Hashem. Hashem Erachem, it's causing the public to sin. Hashem Erachem, it's the reason why people are getting divorced and committing adultery every other day. Because when you're causing other people to sin, HaKadosh Baruch Hu causes problems in your own house. So Rabotai Karim, now you know the difference between beautiful and attractive. Beautiful is a mitzvah. Beautiful is a blessing. Attracting attention, that's a curse. So, Baruch Hashem, we have merited to learn this together. It's very important shiur, but I thought that this is something that must be said, because in a generation today, people don't know. Also, we'll perhaps go into more details maybe in another shiur, because we already spoke for an hour and a half. But also when it comes to makeup on Shabbat and Yom Tov, there's Shabbat makeup. There's specific Shabbat makeup. There's websites that have companies that, I know of one particular one that has askama by Gdolei Israel, that there's certain makeup that women can get for Shabbat and Yom Tov, because it's made up of different things, and you're allowed to use that makeup to put it on, even on Shabbat. So, if you have questions in regards to it, I can give you the website. You can go there. But the point is, Rabotai, beauty is a blessing. Attracting the wrong attention is a curse. So if you need a website, you have any specific questions, you can obviously always contact me on WhatsApp and or on any of these social media sites, and usually the best way is WhatsApp. So with that being said, Rabotai, let's answer the question from last week. Last week we asked a question where Reuven and Shimon had another encounter. Reuven went into Shimon's store and he bought a vase. After Shimon said, listen, since you're my friend, I'll give you a discount. Instead of 8,000, I'll charge you 4,000. Reuven accepted the offer. He gave him the money. And he took the vase. Meaning there was full kinyan here. But then Shimon says, listen, you want me to wrap it, put it in a nice box for you, protect it? And Shimon said, yeah, sure, go ahead. It's already Reuven's possession, but Shimon is, helping him out. But during the time where he's helping him out, he drops the vase, it breaks. He says, okay, fine, listen, I'm sorry this happened, but I'll give you your $4,000 back. And Reuven says, no, what 4,000? You owe me 8,000. So the question is, does he owe him 4,000 or 8,000? Even though he bought it for 4,000, he himself said it's worth 8,000. Some of you said he should give him 4,000 because that's what he paid. Or because maybe there wasn't a kinyan, but there was. Some said he should pay him 8,000 because, listen, that's really what it's worth, 8,000. That was actually the most common answer, that he should pay him 8,000, because the fact that he gave him a discount doesn't mean that it's less valuable. He made a mistake, he has to pay, but he should probably pick different friends. In fact, that's the missing link in most people's answers. The answer is, when they went to Rabbi Edelstein, he explained to him that you only gave him the vase for 4,000 because you thought he was your friend. But now, after he's trying to pull this fast one on you and take 8,000 from you, you realize he's not your friend. And because you realize he's not your friend, had you known he's not really your friend, you would have never given it to him for 4,000. And therefore, the original transaction is mekach ta'ut. It's null and void. It's not about whether he bought it for 4,000 or 8,000 or it's worth. That has nothing to do with it. The original transaction is not a valid transaction because it only happened because you thought he's your friend. Had you known that he's like this, you would have never given him a discount at all. So because of that, the original transaction is null and void, and whether the vase broke and didn't break is irrelevant. The fact is that you have to give back his $4,000 because that transaction is not valid. So that is the answer. Now, Rabotai, the big news. I was thinking of waiting a little longer to tell you this as something that, we've been working on for a very long time. I've told you already for several months the big news are coming, but this big news didn't just start in the last few months, it started a long, long time ago. And I thought I was going to wait a little longer, but because the big news has developed a lot in the last couple of days, I figured that it's probably best that I tell you now. About 6 or 7 years ago, I told all of you that our goal is to open up a place. We had all types of difficulties. We thought maybe we should go to Israel. We thought maybe we should stay. All types of different things. Maybe bring Rabbi Ephraim, maybe other rabbis, maybe this, maybe that. But we had all types of difficulties. Difficulties with money, difficulties with all types of regulations in different cities, Erev Rav, and so on. Well, Rabotai Karim, all of those difficulties are simply because HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a specific time for everything. And the time, Baruch Hashem, has come. Baruch Hashem, we got a place. The new Be'ezrat Hashem headquarters is here. This is not going to be like any other place in the world. And the reason why is because we're going to do everything that we do and we've been doing, but we're going to do it in one place. We'll have a beautiful shul. We'll have our lectures, which are not only going to be in person and weekly, but most likely eventually will become daily. Obviously, bigger, longer lectures will be a few times a week, shorter ones. During the prayers, when we eventually get to that point, we'll be on a regular basis. We'll also have our offices there, workers, our team, different team, parts of the team will be there. We'll have a, B'ezrat Hashem, a kollel. Rav Gavriel Kachlon, Rav Ephraim's brother, Baruch Hashem, is here with us, and on a permanent basis, not just visiting. And he's going to be running the kollel. He runs 2 kollels in Eretz Yisrael for us, and we figured he has more than enough practice to start that as well. But this is not just a dream or a hope. This is now. Now, it's going to take time to develop it. We spent every possible effort to get the place, to start to do all the things we need to do construction-wise. We're almost done with everything. This sign is going to be put up, B'ezrat Hashem, over the next 1 to 2 weeks. We're, in so many words, we did the floors, we did the ceilings. There's only one part of the floor that still needs to be done. There's still some stuff, other decorations we'll put. Obviously the furniture, the Sifrei Torah, that stuff we'll need your help with. In so many words, we got the place. Everything is ready. We need your help to fill it up with as much kedusha and good as possible. This will be the main focus of the annual campaign that we have for the high holidays. And to make this even more clear of why we're announcing it now rather than later on is because as of Rosh Hashanah, the place will be open. Don't go there right now because you're not going to be able to do anything now. But we're doing everything we possibly can on short notice, on urgent notice, to get as much as possible ready for this Rosh Hashanah, so we're able to pray there during Rosh Hashanah, during Yom Kippur, during Sukkot. That's the way we're going to start this year. You're all welcome, obviously, to come and join us for the prayers. It's in South Florida. It's going to be a new community. There's other Jews there as well. There's actually a kosher supermarket opening around the corner from us. But this is, Rabotai Karim, this is going to be a community like anything, unlike anything else. Because over there you'll have everything you possibly need from Aleph at Taf. Just will take time to build all of it. But the place, the main part that's been the most difficult, that's Baruch Hashem now. Our goal is to start off with the prayers. After that, we're obviously going to start doing weekly shiurim. As the community grows and we see that people are ready and willing to come every single day to prayers, we'll start doing prayers every day over there. Eventually, of course, we'll have other work doing there, other employees that we have, other team members over there as well. Eventually, our goal is also to add something for kids. We'll also have a little Judaica store in there. We'll have our kollel over there. We'll have our distribution center for all of the kiruv stuff that we sent out all over the world. Instead of it being stored in our warehouses and then shipped out of either New York or Massachusetts or here Florida from my house, we'll have one central place to send it. Of course, the warehouses we're always going to need, Baruch Hashem. But the point is that we'll have one place that we're looking to provide Am Yisrael everything they possibly need from birth until Olam Haba. This will take time. This will take some help from everyone that wants to be part of it, whether it's from up and close because you want to move here, or it's from a distance because you're supportive like you have been over the years. But this, Rabotai Karim, this is now. Baruch Hashem that we merited. It's been a lot of work, a lot of stuff that I never thought I would ever do in my life. But Baruch Hashem, it's here. So it's going to be an amazing thing, and most likely a valid reason of why I won't need to travel much anymore, even though I haven't traveled in a while. But B'ezrat Hashem will have a lot of busy work to do over there. So this is here. We're going to be launching our annual high holiday campaigns, the special prayer campaigns. B'ezrat Hashem, I'm going to try to do my best to have it ready over the next few days, because we're going to need a lot of help to take the next step, to get, Sifrei Torah. Anyone that doesn't know, they're extremely expensive. The Aron HaKodesh, the seats, all the furniture, all the technology, all the different things, it's a lot. The building was a lot, the repair is a lot, the construction is a lot, everything is a lot. But we're hoping that we're going to have as many of you as partners as possible, because it's going to be a monumental project that is not going to be just online. This is going to be physical, and this is going to be a new community. This is going to be something unlike anything else. And the best part about it, Rabotai, is that all of what you're going to need is going to be there. All we need is support, patience, and a lot of prayers to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give us more and more blessings. So yes, it's in South Florida. Anyone that wants to join us for the high holidays, you can send me a message, and I'll send you the information, the address, and so on. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Okay, so with that being said, Rabotai, now you guys can start asking some questions. Rabbi offered more than kesef, my time. One can make more money, but not time. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember seeing what you offered. And if you sent an email or a message, then I probably didn't get to it yet, of what you're offering. But it's always important to remember that a person needs to help as much as they can with what they can, not necessarily what they want. Because to help somebody, you have to help them the way they need you to help them, not necessarily the way that you want to help. Because let's say, for example, if you have a friend and he needs help with, let's say, paying the rent. Now you say, listen, I'm not going to help you with paying the rent. Even though I have the money, I'm not going to help you paying the rent, but I'm going to help you with giving you some life advice. Now, although that sounds very nice that you want to give your friend life advice, that's not what he needs right now. Right now, he needs to pay rent. So it's important to know that it's when we offer help, is if it's genuine help, we help the way that it's that is needed, not necessarily the way that we always want it. Now, as far as the help that a person can do with B'ezrat Hashem, there's a lot of things that a person can do. They can donate money, obviously, because all of these things now more than ever are going to be more expensive than ever. Even before this building, our expenses were about $150,000 a month, so almost $2 million a year. Now you could increase that drastically more. Especially since we have a few books on the way and a few other amazing things on the way, that the expenses are higher than ever. So money is very, very much needed. Sometimes there is specific skill sets that are necessary, whether it's a development or it's a social media or it's different things that are needed. So we have a team of volunteers that help us with, and obviously employees of the organization that help us with development, that help us with technology, that help us with social media, that help us with different languages, and so on and so forth. So that's always needed, but at different times, one team needs more help than the other. So a person can help us by volunteering that way. Of course, a person could also help by distributing the material in their community. That's another way that a person can help. So there's a lot of different ways that a person could help. A person could help by raising money for us, by going to their friends, family, co-workers, or different circles that are connected to them, to gather donations from other people to help us, so they could raise money from others to send to the organization. They could share the lectures. They could do a lot of different things. There's a lot of different ways that a person can help. Now, if the help that you or anybody else wants to provide fits the help we need, then we're more than glad, we're more than grateful to get it. But if the help that you want to give doesn't fit our needs, then to us it's not help. To us it's simply not needed. So it's not something that we're going to do. So it's just, you have to understand that even though your help may be a perfect fit for someone else, if it's not a fit for us, then we won't need it. We're not just going to do something just for the sake of doing something. So we have to understand what help you're providing. If you sent an email, then eventually I'll get to it. If you haven't, then send one. Because I don't know what you mean you offered time. I don't know what that means. That's awesome. What's the name of the city? We'll need to start looking for a house. Baruch Hashem, you and many other people, I'm hoping, will move to our new community. It's in Lauderhill, Florida. Lauderhill, not Lauderdale, not Fort Lauderdale, which is really everything. Fort Lauderdale is pretty much all of South Florida practically, but it's a city called Lauderhill. And there's a kosher market there. It's a growing Jewish community. It's not like Miami or Aventura or some of the more developed areas where there's nearly 1 million Jews there, but it's also everything you need is going to be there, number one. And number two, it's the fact that it's not as popular and there's not as many Jews living there already now as there is in, let's say, Miami or Aventura or Hollywood, makes the real estate much cheaper than the rest of the places. So that's also another reason why Hashem knew that this is a better area for us, because one of the problems that opening a community was to find a place where it's not just we have the money to get a place, but that it's affordable for everybody else that's within a reasonable income level. In many places in Florida, for example, in North Miami Beach or Aventura or Miami, the houses are 7 figures. $1 million houses is standard over there, $1.5 million, $2 million. So that's not affordable for most people, that are used to, let's say, living in in different parts of the country, or even different parts of the world that want to move here. So that's also something that is a big benefit. But really, more than anything else, is that it's going to be a place where we could actually learn in person. We're going to be able to do shiurim in person. We're going to be able to have different activities in person, and pretty much fulfill all of the good that we want to do as much as possible, not just on in Israel, not just online, not just from a distance, but also in person. B'ezrat Hashem. Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbat, where you blow the shofar inside. No, you don't blow the shofar on Shabbat, you blow the shofar on Sunday, because Rosh Hashanah is a 2-day Yom Tov, and you would blow the shofar on the second day only if the first day is Shabbat. On everything, the Holy One, blessed is He, is long-suffering except for Znut. And the sons saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and the Lord said, I will blot out man. What is Znut? Okay, so your question is, what is Znut? Znut is immorality. When people are being promiscuous, doing promiscuous things. I'd love to help in any form because truly this rabbi is trustworthy. Baruch Hashem. How am I supposed to find a wife from poor and average in looks, especially in the frum community where money and stability is prioritized? Well, not necessarily the entire community, frum community can be judged in a single sentence. Some people are materialistic, some people are not. Some people are beautiful, some people are not. Some people are smart, some people are not. You can't just categorize everybody. And also remember that having money is not a prerequisite of getting married. What's required for getting married is a man and a woman. Jewish man, Jewish woman, they get married. Non-Jewish woman, non-Jewish man, they get married. That's all that's required. You don't need to be rich to get married. Most of the Jewish people throughout history have been poor. And Baruch Hashem, they all got married, and we're all here because of that. Thank you for the blessings. Thank you for being happy. And Baruch Hashem, we're hoping to see you guys there. Baruch Hashem. Rabbi, since you're coming to LA, would you consider coming to Fresno, California? I don't know how far that is from where I'm staying, but if you're going to arrange a very big event over there at some synagogue, then I'll be happy to come. You could email events@bhtorah.org and see what the schedule allows. When a person is wasting seed, will people who are doing witchcraft against him be able to succeed? Same thing with Ain Hara. Unfortunately, when a person wastes seed, and especially sins of immorality and idolatry, they not only create a sin on their account and a stains on their soul, but it also makes them susceptible to damage from all places, even damage that they caused themselves. Meaning that a person that acts immoral, either with themselves or with other people, becomes more inclined and more attracted to bad things, to more immorality, and even to get to a point of committing murder. So, yes, if a person is committing these types of sins, they're more susceptible to everything negative, including witchcraft, Ain Hara, and much, much worse. How far is Florida from New York? 3-hour flight. Is makeup kosher? Yeah, we just had a whole lecture about it. You can watch the whole lecture. It's going to be on YouTube. And see that it's not only allowed, but there's specific rules of what's allowed and what is actually an obligation even. Baruch Hashem, I'm happy this came to fruition. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Thank you for all the blessings, guys. Appreciate it. Rabbi, does Cain have a sister in the Torah named Naamah? And does Naama mean beautiful? Is she the daughter of Adam and Eve, or she the daughter of Lamech? I believe there was a couple of Naamas, not just one. One Naama was actually the wife of Noach. She was a very righteous woman. But there's a couple of Naamas. And as far as Naama meaning beautiful, I think it does, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's a similar meaning to it. It's not exact, but it's similar meaning to beautiful. Yes, Nathaniel. Zat Hashem, we're going to see each other a lot more often now. Skuli mitzvot. I saw on Facebook there was an Orthodox couple who sings Torah songs and host concerts together. Is this allowed if they sing together? No. If a man knows what a woman looks like, then he's not allowed to hear her sing. So if they're performing only for women, then it's allowed. But if they're performing for men and women, needless to say, if they perform online, then men will hear this woman sing and see what she looks like, and kol ha'isha erva. It's forbidden for a man to do that. And if they're doing it together on stage and so on, most likely they're showing all types of affection to each other that's inappropriate. Even holding hands or hugging in public between a man and his wife is forbidden. Needless to say, with different women or different men. Can I ask a question? Do you give me an answer? You just asked a question. I can give you an answer if it's a legitimate question. I have no problem answering it. My mother's father's family came from Jerusalem, but our mother was not Jewish. But we always felt Jewish. Feeling Jewish, unfortunately, is not enough. If one person wants to be Jewish, they have to follow the Jewish law. So if a woman gives birth, and she's not a Jewish woman, whatever she gives birth to is also not Jewish. Now, she could convert to Judaism and then become Jewish, and her kids can convert to Judaism, they can become Jewish, but just to feel Jewish is not enough. But again, it also depends whether they want to. There's no obligation for a non-Jew to convert to Judaism. There's an obligation on a non-Jew to be a righteous Noahide, to follow the Torah laws that are applicable to them. But if she's married to a Jew, if a non-Jewish woman is married to a Jew, then it's a serious problem for both of them because they're both violating the law. She's violating the Noahide law and he's violating the Jewish law by being together. So it's not an easy situation. But everything is fixable if people want to fix it. Was Lamed Yud Taf the first companion of Adam and before Eve? I've been hearing a lot of that. So first of all, you should know we're not allowed to say her name. That's why I spelled out the name. And second of all, there's a teaching that the first woman that Hashem gave to Adam HaRishon did not want to submit to him, did not want to submit to him, and ended up running away, and she ended up marrying the Satan. And she's called Lamed Yud Taf, and she is even worse than the Satan. She's the one that's in charge of immorality. So anytime that you see a woman in your dreams, you causes wasted seed, causes keri. All that stuff comes from her. And I've spoken about her and different things she does, and in my Tikkun Abrit lectures over the years. So if you want to know more about it, you could watch the playlist that we have called Tikkun Abrit, or you could download our app, AI Rabbi. AIRabbi.org is the website, and you could ask questions about her, and she'll give you a bunch of answers with more details. But she was the first woman that Hashem gave to Adam HaRishon. She did not want to submit to her husband, sort of like today's feminists, and she left and married the Satan. But this is also the reason why the feminists and the atheists and all the people that are Satanists, they're attracted to her because she's the source of all of their evil and heresy and idolatry and nonsense. So yeah, she was the first one, but she wasn't the first one, meaning she was the first one, but she left. And then Chava is the wife that brought life to the world, that from her came the rest of the world. This comes from the oral Torah. There's the written Torah, which is the 5 books of Moses, and then you have the rest of the Tanakh, which is the writings and the Proverbs, the writings and the prophets, and then you have the oral Torah. The oral Torah is comprised of endless amount of books. Primarily starts off with the Mishnah, then the Mishnah is clarified by the Gemara. Together they're called the Talmud. So Talmud, Gemara is synonymous today. But first you have the Mishnah. The Mishnah is most of the Mishnah is in the Gemara, not all of it, because there's certain tractates in the Mishnah that don't have a Gemara on them. But that's the foundation of our oral Torah. We also have the Zohar. The Zohar has multiple parts as well. And then we have the Sfarim from the Geonim, from the Rishonim, from the Achronim. There's millions and millions of Sfarim that are going to teach us different aspects of the Torah, but they all originate from the same place. So it's not like new inventions. It's not like the Christian world where anyone can invent whatever they want, whatever interpretation they want. It's very, very different. If you want to know more details about what the oral Torah is, I have lectures about it that you could ask. You could get your answers for all these questions. But the oral Torah talks about it. There's part about it that's discussed in the Zohar Kadosh. There's parts about it that's talked about in the Gemara. There's in Sifrei Chasidut. There is in Sifrei Musar. There's Midrashim. Lots of Midrashim. There's a lot of different things. Torah is an endless ocean. Are women who wear rings on their middle fingers married to the Satan? I have no idea. Why would they be married to the Satan just because of the of a ring? In this new place, are they going to have any classes for a Noahide? So as you see from my lectures online, my lectures are primarily Musar. And Musar is applicable to everyone, both to Jews and to non-Jews. So we're going to continue these types of lectures, B'ezrat Hashem, until Mashiach comes. As much as I can, as much strength as Hashem gives me, we'll do. And so we'll have that. Our goal is to also have other things. We're also hoping that at some point we'll have conversion classes, like specific courses that are catered for people that want to convert. And then have classes for kids, have a lot of different things. But in all of the events that I've had over the years, whether it's when I used to give lectures in person 3 times a week here in Florida, all the trips that I've traveled in different parts of the country, and different, in Israel or Canada, there's always Noahides that attend my lectures too. There's majority is Jews, but there's always a few Noahides that attend and enjoy themselves, and are welcome to come. So my lectures are good for anyone that wants to learn and grow and become a better person. You're all welcome. Which tzaddik that's still alive is equivalent to Rav Amos Greta? We don't compare tzaddikim to each other. It's not it's just like we don't compare mitzvot to each other. But there's, Baruch Hashem, many tzaddikim. Some are well known, some are not well known. But to be honest with you, it's really impossible for people to answer this type of question in public, because most people don't really understand what a tzaddik is. They think that usually people assume that tzaddikim are famous, or tzaddikim are old, or tzaddikim are something specific that people have in their mind, or they do magic, all types of things. And there are, Baruch Hashem, many tzaddikim that exist. Some we know, some B'ezrat Hashem we have close relationship with. And Baruch Hashem, we try to do our best to join the tzaddikim too. Every day we try our best to be tzaddikim. Is there any tzaddik that I look up to? Yeah, my dear Rav, Rabbi Frank Kachlan. I also learn from him every day, so. What happened when the followers of Moses commented on Moses' wife's skin of containing too much melanin for their limited capacity to comprehend? No, when the Chachamim explained, when they said that she was Kushit, the Talmud explains Kushit is not referring to too much melanin, like you call it, or to that she's black. Kushit means that she was beautiful. That it doesn't mean that she was she had too much melanin, because most of the Jewish people were dark, because they were all in the Middle East. They're all in Egypt, so they weren't like white Americans or Russians of today. They were darker, Middle Eastern, not Ethiopian, no. But they were Middle Eastern, like Mizrahi Jews, like Sephardi Jews. Mixing some granola and fruit into yogurt on Shabbat is a concern of lush? No. If you put it in while you eat it, there's not a problem. To prepare it for later is a problem. But to eat it right away is not a problem. Must a man grow a beard if he wishes to convert? No. A Jew is not obligated to have a beard. It's not an obligation at all. They're just not allowed to shave their face with a razor. So they could shave their face with a buzzer, or some people I think use creams. But growing a beard is not an obligation. The obligation is not to shave your face with a razor, with a knife. Should we engage in debating and debunking the anti-Semites online while keeping Torah and mitzvot? Not according to, what I've learned from my Rav, unless there is a significant need for it by, that Chachamim conclude that it's necessary, but so I don't really see the need for it. I've spoken about it with my Rav many times over the years. Aside from popularity, becoming more popular and and reaching, let's say, a bigger crowd, I don't really see the benefit of the debates, because the Jew that's debating, is he's not interested in the other religion. He's trying to prove Judaism. And the Muslim or the Christian on the other side, he's not interested in Judaism. He's interested in presenting his thing. So the whole point of the debate is not really to go with the truth. The whole point of the debate is who could be a better speaker, who could insult the other side in a more convincing way. So I don't really see how this is a big help to people. It's entertaining, and there's certainly some things that are needed, but to do that on a regular basis, no. Even one of the most famous debaters, if not the most famous debater, Rav Tovia Singer, Shichyeh, he himself says that if you want to be able to defeat any religion, Christianity, Islam, atheism, whatever it is, don't waste your time studying their religions of Christianity, Islam, and atheism in order to defeat them. Rather, the more Torah you learn, the more you'll know what the truth looks like, and therefore be able to identify everything else that's false. Many people do the opposite. They want to go and debate against Muslims or against the Christians, so they start studying their books. And they figure that if they know they could find mistakes in their books, or they copycat other speakers that have spoken against them, then in just a more convincing way, then they'll win the debate. But in reality, they're not winning the debate. They're losing life, because instead of learning Torah, the Satan is convincing them to learn everything else aside from the Torah. How do I fight from the U.S. for the yeshiva boys being forced into the army? Depends what tools you have. Some people fight with money. Some people by supporting more Torah. Some people fight with mitzvot, by becoming more righteous. Some people fight with prayers. Some people fight with helping more people do tshuva. Depends what tools you have. Depends what you have. If you have all of those tools, use all of the tools. Kol ma shebekocha la'asot ta'aseh. Shlomo Melech says, everything that's in your power to do, do. For someone struggling with tshuva, is it necessary to feed the Yetzirah with kosher tava or hobby? I have a whole lecture about that. And you could watch it, and explains what's a kosher tava, what's not a kosher, how much you should do it. Just because a person needs to fulfill a certain tava doesn't mean he could stuff it with as much as it wants. That's like feeding the monster. It doesn't get full. So you have to know how, when. What's your point of view about non-Jews? If they're righteous people, Baruch Hashem. If they're wicked people, B'ezrat Hashem, they'll do tshuva. I have many students that are Jewish, and I have many students that are not Jewish. So you could ask them, what kind of treatment they get when they ask for guidance, they ask questions. I don't think you'll have anybody telling you a negative thing, because we try to help everybody that we can, when we can, how we can. So. Do you only help righteous people? No. I help anybody that I can help. In fact, most people, when they come to me for help, they're far, far from righteous. They're trying to be righteous, which is really the only prerequisite. Person's desire to be righteous. They want to be righteous. They're trying to do it. They just need guidance. That's the best. Those are the best people. People that are believe that they're already righteous, I can't help them because they're too arrogant for me to help them. People that like being wicked, I also can't help them because they're not interested in being better. The primary people that I can help and that I want to help and that I'm here to help is people that want to be better. They want to be more righteous. They want to be a righteous Jew. They want to be a righteous Noahide. They want to be a righteous woman. They want to be a righteous man, according to the Torah. Not according to my definition, according to what the Torah says. Okay, we'll answer one or two more questions and I'm done. I'm just got a lot going on these days, Baruch Hashem. Okay. What about people who want to be righteous but don't know the truth? So yeah, I try to help them. If anybody sends me a message, even if they're sending me a message about their yoshke, they usually get a response that I send them proofs of why what they believe is false. And different lectures that I've made or that other people have made that I know are good. So I send them that information. We have already a whole letter that I've been sending for years to many people with information, showing them what the truth is, proofs of it, different lectures that will provide them information. So yeah, we try to help whoever we can. And in fact, many people have converted as a result of those lectures and different responses we've given to people. What if Hashem? Why, if Hashem forgave Shlomo HaMelech, was Israel divided nonetheless? It wasn't up to Shlomo HaMelech. It was up to the next kings that came after him. It's up to each person. If they're righteous, Hashem gives them a certain blessing. If they're wicked, they go against the Torah, then curses come after that. So it all depends on the people. It's not up to Shlomo HaMelech. It's up to the people that, the kings that followed. And unfortunately, many of the kings that followed, almost all of them, were idol worshippers. Not all, but almost all. Donating money to you through YouTube counts as kiruv? Yeah, sure. You're supporting kiruv. You're supporting our work. You're supporting what we do. Sure, that money comes to the organization. We use that to do all the things that we do, whether it's pay employees or print more books or make more videos or all the different things that the organization needs to do. As I said, people can see our financials publicly. It's on GuideStar, Candid, and our transparency is of the highest level. It's platinum for 3 years in a row. You can see we have expenses that are close to $2 million a year. So that's over $150,000 a month. So whatever you donate, whether it's $5 or $50 or $1,000 or $50,000 or whatever it is, it's going to help us. And it's going to make you a partner in all the things that we do. Obviously, the key for people that are donating is based on your capacity, based on whatever's a person is able to do, relevant to them. If a person is a millionaire, they should donate like a millionaire. If a person is a regular person, they should donate like a regular person. Everybody according to their level. Hashem is not calculating dollar amounts. Hashem is calculating effort and percentages. Meaning that if a person that's donates $1 million, but he has $100 billion, so that $1 million is a nice donation, but it's virtually nothing to him. So whereas a person that, let's say, has $10,000, he donates $1,000. That $1,000 is 10% of what he has. That's very significant. That's worth more than the $1 million that the 100 billionaire donated. Why? Because relevant to what he has, he donated a lot more. What car do you drive? Why, do you need a ride? I'm not an Uber driver, so my car is the Bezat Hashem car. When I'm on the road, which is not often, but when I'm on the road, you can see me from far away. It has all the Bezat Hashem logos and pictures and QRs, and it's like a walking Kiddush, it's a driving Kiddush Hashem. It's the Kiruv car. Even though Israel is not a religious state, isn't it important to have it as a safe haven? Safe haven for what? I mean, Israel is amazing. I love it. It's anytime I visit there, I don't want to come back to America. So if you're talking about the land itself and many of the people that are there, yeah, they're amazing. They're beautiful. They're Kodesh Kodashim. As far as the government of Israel is wicked. They're anti-Torah, atheists, communists, supporters of idolatry. Pretty much, they support everything that's against the Torah. So as far as the government, they're comprised of wicked people that are fighting against the Torah. But that doesn't change the status of many of the people that are there in the land. That's all good. There's more Torah in Eretz Yisrael than anywhere else in the world. So, of course, Eretz Yisrael is amazing. But that doesn't mean, just because we love Eretz Yisrael, we love the Jewish people, doesn't mean that we agree with the politics of the country. It's two different things. The politics of Israel have nothing to do with the Jewish people. It's the politics of the nations. It's not the politics of the Torah. They don't run the government of Israel in accordance with the Torah. They do everything opposite of the Torah. So it has nothing to do with Judaism. Rabbi, if I don't have money, not for food or to pay my yeshiva, do I still need to give maaser? No. Obviously, you have to survive first. Would you give me the name of the book that was published about Noahides? I don't know. I don't know what book was published about Noahide. Is a man that's terminally ill obligated to get married if he won't be in the world much longer? No. In fact, even if he gets married, he's not supposed to marry a woman that's able to give children. It's going to be very difficult. So it's there's certain laws for people. Let's see. See, this rabbi is money-minded. None of what he listed costs anywhere near $150,000 or $2 million a year. You could look at our financials online and see what we spend the money on. You could see. You could go to our website, see our numbers. We have given food to over 251,000 Jews for free. Food and financial help. We have distributed over 370,000 books for free. Over 2.5 million USBs, CDs, posters for free. We've given not $2 million, we've given nearly $12 million back to the Jewish community. So for you to say that everything that I'm saying is a lie is not only stupid, because it could easily be proven, but it's also a very big mistake for you, because you're motzi shem ra on somebody that all they do is give to Am Yisrael. So you should try to work on your mouth or your typing skills a little bit during this month of Elul. I personally don't take it, I'm not offended by it. I know that you're too ignorant to even know the difference between right and wrong right now because you're so money-minded and materialistic. But for your own protection and for your own neshama, for your own olam haba, you shouldn't just write things just because you like to write. You shouldn't just say things just because you like to say things. You have to double check what you're going to say. Everything that I said is publicly available. You could look literally at the balance sheet of the organization, at the expenses, everything. It's all publicly available. And not only is it publicly available, with more transparency than your local synagogue or any other Jewish organization out there, but we have been given what's called a platinum seal of transparency, which is the highest seal from a third party, which is Candid, which is the main organization that monitors all this stuff. So for you to say such things that you're saying, it's beyond ignorant. Go check what you're saying, and see if I'm a liar, prove it. Make a whole video about me. I lied about this. I lied about that. Make a whole video about me. I'll even promote it for you. I'll promote it for you on my channel. But if you're just writing things, then you're being stupid. I answered what car I have. I even put pictures of my car on the internet. Everybody knows what car I have. I have the what's it called, that truck. What is it called? Tesla truck. I have the Tesla truck that has the Bezrat Hashem wrap on it. My car is on the website. That's the car I drive. I don't have a Ferrari or anything. I don't even own a house. Everything. I haven't taken it. The reason why we're able to get this place, this new place, the reason why we're able to give so much out for free is because I don't take a salary. I don't take a salary from the organization. I've been doing this for 12 years. Go, you try working without a salary for 12 years. Good luck to you. So, you're just a little ignorant, jealous person for the wrong reasons. I feel bad for you. How does one break a curse that was cast by an ex-wife who turned out to be a witch? The more righteous a person is, the more they'll connect to Hashem. The more they'll connect to Hashem, the more protection they'll have from anything and everything. Okay. Rabbi Karim, the time has come to move on for the day, for the week. The next time I'll see some of you is maybe in person in Los Angeles next week. We'll have a couple of events over there, probably a few. We have a couple of them in synagogue already booked, and there's a couple of other events that are in the works. So some of you that are living in the Los Angeles area, I'll be giving lectures over there next week. And Bezrat Hashem will put them all online. If possible, we'll also stream them, and which we succeeded to do, Baruch Hashem, in New York. But most importantly, Rabbi Karim, we'll continue learning. We'll continue growing. We have our big news of Baruch Hashem, our new Bezrat Hashem. Isn't it cool? You'll see some stuff on the windows once you see it in person. It's actually being installed as we speak. And this Rabbi Karim is going to bring a lot of Kiddush Hashem. Bezrat Hashem. Anyone that wants to support, you can donate on our website, bezrathashem.org, bhtorah.org. We're going to also be doing our annual, this is our biggest campaign of the year that we do, is our holiday campaign, the special blessing campaign. So I'm hoping that it'll be launched and publicized in the next few days, Bezrat Hashem, hopefully. And last but not least, for any of you that want to come pray with us during the holidays, you're welcome to. Of course, I'm not a real estate agent, so I can't find anybody houses, but anyone that wants to come is more than welcome to. And we're just going to have a lot of good stuff, Bezrat Hashem. Shkul mitzvot, b'chod ve'yeshuvot, and Bezrat Hashem, we will learn again next week.